With MailChimp, you get a whole lot more than a URL. You get an all-in-one marketing platform to help drive sales. That means you can connect your data to make more informed, smarter decisions, and you get powerful automation tools like our Customer Journey Builder to ensure you never miss an opportunity to turn shoppers into loyal customers. So if you're ready to integrate your marketing and boost sales, get started today at MailChimp.com/smartmarketing. MailChimp, built for growing businesses.
Right Night is a talk show with published authors, writers, and content creators discussing both the creative and technical sides of writing, as well as the industry surrounding it, from novels to screenplays to comics and more. And now, here's your host, author Travis I. Sivart.
There we go. Thank you, Cogsley, for that intro. Let's see. Did that. See, it's a new format. We got to figure this stuff out. Topic intro. Tonight we're going to be talking about foreshadowing, and that means foreshadowing in writing, in life, and for the show itself and what's coming up in the future for us here on Right Night. Now, let me first of all say welcome and the quick disclaimer. Or am I out of order for that? Checking my order. Yeah, let's do the disclaimer right now. I'm Travis Sivart. I'm your host. I'm the author of... Oh, I am so excited about this. I just got this in the other day. And I gave them to Andrea. Damn it.
What is it?
I've got my second book in the series.
Oh,
hold on. We got a subscription here. Tracy is subscribing again. Yay. Making that freaky music go. Thank you, Tracy. Appreciate that. There's to you. So I just recently published my second book in the Portal series, Demons and Daggers, and I am seeing great response public for this. Got my first review today or yesterday, I forget which.
Oh, awesome.
And she's read the first and the second book and reviewed both of them. I'm so pleased.
Oh, nice.
Now, let's see here. So this is Right Night. Good to know, Aaron. That's pretty standard there. Oh, wait, she brought me it. Yay, thank you, Andrea. Oh, wait, there we go. There we go. Portals Book 2 is now out and getting reviews.
Right there. Yep.
And all that good stuff. Now, that's why we're welcome. Oh, quick disclaimer. We are live on twitch.tv/Travis Tavern Talk, recording this as a podcast to put up across the board on iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Apple, Google, and Amazon. We were recently accepted onto Amazon Music and Podcasts. So that's very exciting for us there. Now, what else do we have before I give you guys a thing? I think I did it. I think that's where we're at. So, let's give you guys a chance to introduce yourselves. How about we just go alphabetical and start with Michael?
Hello, my name is Michael Thompson. I am an author and an illustrator, and one of my books is Winslow Hoffner. Winslow Hoffner's Incredible Encounters. It's a folkloric fantasy on the high seas about cryptids, sea monsters, epic urban legends that few have beheld, but there's one man who's seen them all, the gallant fisherman Winslow Hoffner. He's regaling his tales of epic adventure to a couple of journalists who discover their small harbor town is harboring incredible secrets.
What's up with Book 2?
Book 2 is happening very soon in the new year, the very beginning of the new year, and hopefully more books to come as well.
So when you say happening, you mean publishing?
Yes.
Okay.
It's gonna go live around. I have the first draft of, or maybe the second draft of the second book done, and gonna send it in for another round of editing, and I'm going to aim for the new year, and I want to try and pull a Travis and do like a rapid release type thing, you know, and get some more books up.
Very cool. And what about the audiobook?
Oh, the audiobook. I'll show you this. I did. I was talking with my author pals on here, and they convinced me to make some fun things. This is a CD, which this is just kind of cool. I'm gonna have it on my table. And check this out. This is all homemade, by the way. I made all this.
Nice. You got a steady hand to draw all that.
Yeah, each one is hand drawn.
He also did the cover of the original book.
It's a proof of concept. Yes, I did. And yeah, each and every book. Yeah, so this is the audiobook is coming out as soon as it goes through Audible's acceptance process. But it's been a little bit slow on account of everything going on. But it's up there, and I'm just waiting for its approval. And as soon as it's up, it will be announced.
Let me know, and I want one of the CDs down the road if you have any remaining. But let's turn it over to Aaron here.
Oh, hi. I'm Aaron Kennedy. I've been a technical writer for 25 plus years. I've been published in the Army Times, the NCO Journal. I also wrote Persona Non Grata, the first of the Ships of Valor series, and I'm working currently on the Icarus Black series, which takes place in that same universe.
Yes.
It's I'm sorry, our pre-show conversation, when you said Icarus Black, my mind went elsewhere. Anyhow.
Whoa.
There's the Ships of Valor right there.
There's that. I don't have portals yet, but I got Croaker.
Oh, there's Croaker. It's actually, which is my favorite of my short story cycles in the steampunk cycle thing.
Hey.
You got some bits?
Yay!
Thank you for that. Here's you, Tracy, showing your bits. And good for everybody else joining us. Thank you for joining us, Mike. Not this Mike, the Mike in the chat, and everybody else who's popped in. It is good to see each and every one of you. Thank you for coming in. And we will be trying to acknowledge your things as we go along. And we've got our new moderator right there in the chat with her Just the Tip logo icon there by her name. Andrea has Just the Tip. Anyhow. Okay. So I think we've done our intros. At this point in time, I want to let you guys know we do have merchandise available. Matter of fact, if you look, I am wearing a Right Knight shirt right now. I ordered one for each of the podcasts. And this thing, I'm very pleased with it. I wore it for the first time today, and it's so comfortable and so soft, and I'm just loving it. It's and then I click a thing to take away all my sound effects when I was going to make some goofy ass sound effect. So yeah, check out the merch. It's below the screen down there, and Aaron might even pop the link up top here. Aaron, there is a command if you want to do that. If you just do !merch, or if Andrea wants to do that, it will drop that down there.
Merch.
So
I like all your dancing lights back there, Travis.
Oh, thank you. A little atmosphere going on there, right? It's I think I need to adjust this camera a little because I'm sitting up all straight instead of leaning back all comfy. Yeah, I like that disco feel.
Yeah, man.
Other than that, I do want to remind everybody we also have Talk of the Tavern on Monday nights as well as up as a podcast, in addition to our Dungeons & Dragons game with Aaron on both of those on Sunday nights, 8 o'clock Eastern, just like this. I think that's the whole thing, right? We're good at this point?
We're
I think
good.
That's
We got
the
the disclaimer.
beginnings.
We got the intros.
We've got the preamble done.
We need the teaser.
There we go. Yeah, now for the topic setup. And that's topic, not toxic. That'd be different.
The prologue.
Well, it could be a toxic setup, but
It can be.
let's lean in.
So, with foreshadowing, what we're looking at with foreshadowing is hints of what to come, leading into what possibilities lay in front of us. And I want to branch out through multiple layers of this one. First of all, we're going to apply it to writing. But I think we're going to start out with talking about foreshadowing for the show. I have taken a break for a few weeks here, and now we're coming back as my scheduling allows, and we have honed the show a little bit to make it a bit tighter and sleeker and wetter, or something like that. And
Highly nutritious. For the mind.
There we go. It's delicious for the
Better
brain.
viscosity.
Higher viscosity, yes.
It is
Right
synthetic
night,
thought.
back and extra viscous.
That reminds me of when I would play the Dro modules in the 80s, there was a wand of viscous globs, and this is where I learned the word
I love
viscous.
that.
It's also a common mistake if you're trying to write the word vicious, which can drastically change a single letter, can drastically change a whole sentence.
That's very
Yes,
true.
but it can make it so much better too.
Yeah.
That makes me want to drink more whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, I do want to let everybody know, in the future of Right Night and the other podcasts, when we are live streaming starting next week, it will be subscriber only, because you are our live studio audience, and this is going to be one of those perks of subscribing to get into the subscriber only things. So besides that, I believe only moderators. I'm not sure if VIPs will be able to pop in. We'll test that theory. And we'll
Free
see
with
how that
Amazon
goes.
Prime.
That's very true. That's a great point right there. If you have Amazon Prime,
Yeah.
you can subscribe to one Twitch channel per month at no cost to you, but it still supports that streamer. So
And we are obviously the best, so please.
Well, we try to be the best. We work harder.
Yeah. Harder, faster, stronger.
don't.
More viscous.
There we go. Let's just go with extra butter and more viscous.
Ooh.
Yeah, the extra
More
butter
butter.
as a joke from a different tabletop role-playing game we streamed.
Oh.
Matter of fact, there's even
Crossover.
this noise here. Hold on, let me find it for everybody.
Would you like butter on that, sir?
There we go. Hey, look at that. Tejinter just came in and subscribed. Tejinter says
Thank
legend
you.
has it. Travis is an
Tejinter
actual
has
sentient whiskey
subscribed.
decanter
Here's
that
you.
launched
Legend
himself
has it.
into the
Travis is
internet to
actually
better
a
craft his
sentient
humans.
Whiskey decanter
Simulacra.
has launched himself into the
we
internet
go.
to better craft his human simulacra.
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Tejinter. Appreciate that. Here's to your face.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Here we go. As Andrea said, my moderator, my favorite moderator, she says, subscribe now or you may have to wait until the broadcast is uploaded. And that's very true. If you want to be part of the live
That's
audience.
nowhere near as fun. It's fun, but not nearly as fun.
Yeah, we hopped on here because y'all are our favorites.
They are.
It's a true story.
Objectively so.
I don't object to it.
Subscriber needed. Yes.
Cool word. I like it when he makes up words. Okay,
A lovely neologism.
so I'm trying to give the lead into the topic here at foreshadowing. I think we covered it on the show side. On the writing side, you know what? I'm going to leave that for one of you guys. Did I miss anything on the show side? For the future of the show, what are you guys looking forward
to? The live audience. I think it's good. I think you got it.
What do
Yeah,
you?
I think you hit the 5-6 major points.
My name is Inigo Montoya. You kill my fellow prepared it.
Yeah.
Hello, your introduction, who you are, we got that. Friggin' what to expect, we got that.
Right, but we're past the intro. This is the actual discussion.
Oh, good to go.
So,
We made it
The
this
whole show
far.
is foreshadowing.
what's to
No,
come in the show?
Okay, going back to Inigo Montoya. Hello. Oh, what's going on here? My name is Inigo Montoya. Oh, this seems like a nice interaction. You killed my father. Whew, we flipped it on its end, which
Yes.
is an important part of foreshadowing. We're flipping things on its
If
end.
I can interrupt real quick here.
Spring.
Real quick.
Yes.
There's another subscription. Freedom and
Thank
Spring.
you.
Here's to your face.
Yay.
Thank you for supporting the
That's a
channel.
buddy of mine.
Glad to
Thank
see it.
you.
Oh,
Thank you.
it's Mike's friend.
Woo.
You rock.
Yay. Okay, Eric. Carry on.
Yeah, no, but I think the Inigo Montoya friggin' introduction is essential to kind of highlight foreshadowing. Because again,
Did you say essential or just sensual?
yes,
Viscous.
viscous, oily, even. Well, like a lubricant for society.
Go on.
But no, I think it is essential because it's one of those a foreshadowing doesn't work if you're already on the rails to get there. It has to be something that is a change of tracks. So, then I'm going to go back to Persona non grata because it's the book that I'm most familiar with, having written it.
Yes.
Hey, yes. Hey, we start off with this story. The guy comes back to, he lands on the moon and wants to go back to Earth. The problem is he can't go back to Earth. Our foreshadowing is when the gate slams in front of him. Something has gone drastically wrong, and he doesn't know what it is yet. All he knows is, uh-oh. And that's where all the foreshadowing kind of goes into play, is when our protagonist or our narrator, either or, gets that uh-oh moment. The view into the reader's mind, which can be either the protagonist as our narrator, or our narrator as a third-person describer narrator. He can tell us these things. Hoffner does this well, too, because he goes, okay, where does things go off the rails?
Mm-hmm.
And it happens in each
Winslow.
chapter. Yes.
Winslow Hoffner.
Gotcha.
Winslow Hoffner.
For those of
Yeah,
you that
yeah.
aren't familiar, the main character of, I sorry to say it, my favorite book of Michael's.
Thank you. I'm not sorry to hear it. I think Winslow, and that's great. When I sent it off to my beta readers, and I always asked them, I was like, which character do you connect with the most? Which blah blah blah, and they're like Winslow, and they all like the main character the best, which is really cool because usually. Well, John is kind of the main character of Winslow, but the book itself and he's a journalist, and his interaction with him is a lot like journalism because it's telling someone else's story, and you're sort of steeping into But he is our titular character and very much a main character.
You know, I look forward to seeing the next World of the Orb book, but I'd almost recommend you consider bumping their age older, because
they're getting older.
Get it closer to your age, because that's where you're relating. And it also gives you that Narnia thing. In the second Narnia book, when they went back, they were no longer school age. They were, entering adulthood and everything. It's,
in the second World of the Orb, I believe we catch up with them almost immediately after, and then like a summer has passed. So it's not a massive age up, but it is interesting. When I first wrote Winslow, I was actually younger than my main character John, and up until that point, all of my characters had been my age, and like I was constantly, because Orb took so long because I was in school at the same time, so I was like constantly bumping their age up until I got to juniors in high school. I'm stopping there. I think that's fine.
No, I'm curious. I've heard the main character's name is John in World of the Orb, and it's also John in Winslow, the journalist.
No, John is John Chaplin in Winslow, and Marvin and Andy are the main characters.
Oh, okay.
World of the Orb, yeah. I don't know if I misspoke, but
quick comment from Tajinter here regarding foreshadowing. He says, or you start at the end and rewind to tell the story of how you got to the point. Thor Ragnarok did that pretty well, but it played it straight by having him still be in the cage at the start of the movie. So...
The James Bond series kind of does this really, really well, and I believe friggin' you're friggin'
Silver and Smith.
Thank you. I kept getting locked onto Steel for some reason. Yeah, Silver and Smith. The idea of ending on the last adventure to where we get that hype there, and then we roll into the next
not foreshadowing.
Adventure. No, but it's setting up.
It can be foreshadowing.
Yeah, it is. It's a tempo.
It definitely sets up tempo. In regard,
right, and it. Oh, go ahead.
Regards to what Mike just said there, it might. What I might start doing in the future as I'm doing this is make that last tail end of that adventure foreshadow the ending of the next thing. I wonder if I could tie that in. Huh? What were you saying, Aaron?
The James Bond. The James Bond novels kind of do that, but by setting your intro, your preamble, your first arc, you set the roller coaster level of, okay, our first big hill is the same as our last big hill.
Right.
Get that nice one, and you get your friggin' ups and your downs and things like that. But the idea is that we are foreshadowing the ride you're going to go on, not necessarily what's there, just kind of set the expectation. It's kind of like walking through Disneyland. As you go through the line, you go through the line and you kind of get a feel of, oh, this is what this ride is about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Space Mountain sets up the feel of the ride, even though you haven't stepped foot on it yet, and so does Splash Mountain. Completely different rides, but you know what you're getting into.
That's right. That's true.
That's right. That's true. Okay.
That's right. That's true.
So once again, let me flip us back here. Do either of you have any thoughts when it comes to the foreshadowing of what's to come?
With MailChimp, you get a whole lot more than a URL. You get an all-in-one marketing platform to help drive sales. That means you can connect your data to make more informed, smarter decisions, and you get powerful automation tools like our Customer Journey Builder to ensure you never miss an opportunity to turn shoppers into loyal customers. So if you're ready to integrate your marketing and boost sales, get started today at MailChimp.com/smartmarketing. MailChimp, built for growing businesses.
'Tis the season for those irresistible ginger thins, cozy blankets for cuddling by the fire, and making home warm and welcoming. For one-stop holiday shopping, visit your local IKEA or ikea-usa.com/holiday.
Come for Right Night as a show.
Oh, as a show.
Ooh. I think we're doing well. Really, it's kind of a massive redesign. We got what we want. We got the seed, okay, and we know that seed's going to eventually grow into this big ass tree. We don't know necessarily what this tree is going to look like.
I've never had an ass tree.
Well, sir, didn't you just install a bidet? So wait a second.
I'm watering it.
Right. But no, we got the seed, and we got an idea what this tree is going to be. It's one of those, like, you know what they work to be up for.
Hold on.
You don't know what that oak tree
Hold
is
on
gonna
one
look
second. Okay, try again. You started to crackle. I wanted you to pause so it clears.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
No problem. We've got this acorn, and we know it's going to be an oak tree. We don't know necessarily what that oak tree is going to look like, but when you've seen one oak tree, you've seen countless oak trees. They don't all look the same, but they all look like oak trees. But what we're trying to do is create this new and unique podcast thing that's happening in here, designed around the Right Night kind of format, Right Night theme, and creating a great format to match what we've got in our heads. So we've got the energy, we've got the people, we've got the kind of the ideas and the topics we want to hit, but we got to get it to turn into a tree.
And what about you, Michael? Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, as we were talking about it in our pre-show, some of the things that you said that got me the most excited were, like, you know, the mailbag and all these different segments. So it's going to be segmented, and that to me makes it feel like a really, really cool show. So there's going to be these segments that, you know, you can look forward to, in addition to, you know, just us giving our thoughts and you and us enjoying your lovely presence. So, segments make me really excited, because that therein lies the structure, and you know where you are and what's to come, and each segment can foreshadow the next. So.
And on that note, these segments give the audience, or the people that we're here for, a chance to interact in advance. They know what's coming. They see what's here. We talked about the mailbag that's going to be coming at the end of the show and things like that. So even if they don't get a chance to interact with us via chat, and they go, "Oh my God, I was listening to this via the podcast," they can send us an email, and they're going to be able to go, "Oh, I want to talk about this." I want to be able to have that.
1 second.
They're going to be able to go,
Hold on.
Go ahead.
Okay, try again. I'm stopping you when you crackle, because what I'm thinking is, when you get a certain level of energy and there's so much going through your mic, I think that's when it's starting to crackle.
It's my personal magnetic field that's screwing things
Could
up.
be.
So I've got to down.
It's your creative juices.
Ew.
Your visitive creative juices.
We might have to get a different mic, or at least sanitize this one. No, what I think is going to the segments are going to give a chance for people to interact at a more consistent level.
Well, let me also...
The mailbag... Okay.
I should save this till the end. Go on.
The mailbag, where people can go, "Oh, wow, they had this great point about such and such," which is going to be a consistent theme or a consistent topic that we hit throughout. We're going to be able to re-hit those topics. It may not necessarily hit next show, but we've got this massive archive of things that we're going to have available to us so that we can go back and interact with our subscribers. So if I mention, oh, wow, I loved how Hoffner friggin' ties into this, they can go, oh, wow, I also saw how it tied into this. We can go back to that as we're talking about other topics.
Oh, by the way, speaking of tying in, Michael, I think when I write Journal of a Stranger Part 3, instead of tying in World of the Orb, or possibly in addition to tying in World of the Orb, I should tie in Winslow Hoffner instead or in addition.
A little cameo.
You know what? I feel Croker Norge and Winslow could be drinking buddies.
Well, Winslow actually does not drink, believe it or not. He only drinks root beer.
Well, he drinks, though. It just doesn't drink alcohol. I didn't say it had to be alcohol.
Okay, all right. I jumped to conclusions. I thought you were foreshadowing alcohol.
Hey, guys. Tincher asked a great question here. Does the start of Star Wars count as a type of foreshadowing past the scroll up where you have this image of Tantive 4 blast past the... and then we have a massive Star Destroyer, scroll past, etc. It really does the cold intro for Vader and Leia count as foreshadowing?
No. That is not foreshadowing at all. That is setup. That is setting the tone and whatnot. That is not foreshadowing. Just like I said with the James Bond books, the end of his last adventure sets your tone, sets your expectation, but it is not foreshadowing anything later. It's just letting you know you're jumping into a moving train here. This is something that never stops.
Go ahead.
I want to say a couple of quick things here before we move on too far from the previous topic, and that is, if you guys want to send something to our mailbag, rightnightshow@gmail.com is the address for that. You can send us birthday greetings, you can send us your thoughts on the topic if you're listening on the podcast instead of in person, and we can refer to the next show if it's something we want to bring up. But I also really want to point out, as we tweak the show in very subtle ways and in other ways very obvious ways, I want to make sure people understand our other friends that we've had on with us. Let me give a quick hello to What's Up, It's Q. Thank you for that follow.
Hey, thanks, Q.
Is that another friend of yours?
Yeah, that's a buddy of mine. He has a great channel. Go follow him too. He streams games.
There you go. Q, do a exclamation point me. I want to mention Tara Moeller, Tempe, and Elizabeth, Pickle Lady. They've been on with us shows before, as well as John from Jersey's Cards and Comics and Conquest Publishing. These folks might still come back and join us on guests on very specific episodes. But right now, looking at how podcasts are built, this is the best way to do it. Andrea, would you be kind enough to give What's Up, It's Q a shout out, please? So exclamation point SO, space, and then the name will do that. Or Aaron, you're always welcome to do shout outs also in that same manner. Okay. Yeah, I want to make sure everybody realizes the other people we've had on the show will be visiting us when the topic is pertinent to what they do and their area of expertise. But we're going to bring it down to just the three of us because it makes it a tighter, faster show. It makes it more understandable and relatable. I don't think I'm saying this well. Anybody branch out on this and expound on this a little better?
Really, the idea is to make a clean, efficient show that still maintains our tonal consistency, which was what we had before. So with 4 or more people, you get a lot of cross purposes and a lot of lag. So with 3, everybody's kind of gets the feel, the talk, and things. We can get guests in here, and it makes it easier. Very similar to a radio show where you got about 3 people running around.
Very true. I love to watch Michael's face while he types to people in chat. Because I also now want to do something. I now want to play poker with Mike also.
Oh, do I have to tell?
Oh, you get so happy. You can see you're happy. You're smiling as you're typing and everything.
I mean, you should see me when I write books. I'm like, whoa.
Oh, I do the same thing. How about
I jump around and do action?
How about
scenes.
when you're writing and you start crying as you write the scene, and you're like, God, I hope at least one other person cries during this too.
I wept writing Winslow too.
Did
I
you?
wept so many times.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that. Tara said that she cried at the climax scene. Hold on, we'll pause for that joke. At the climax scene in Portals 1, and then when she read Portals 2, she's like, this is the best character development you've done yet.
Awesome, dude.
So yeah, I'm very pleased with that kind of feedback. And my cat just fell. It's not very smart.
When you can put that emotion into a book, and when that translates for someone else and it moves them like that, that's the best thing you can hope for as an author.
Absolutely.
Well, second best. I like money.
Sorry.
Oh,
that can move you to tears too.
oh, don't get me wrong. I'll cry on my freaking.
Oh my god.
So now going back to actual foreshadowing in writing, didn't we have 3 layers? We had for the show, we had for something else, and then we had for writing. What is the missing piece here for foreshadowing? We'll talk about that soon. We will get to that last. Hold that thought. Let's talk about foreshadowing in writing. Michael,
okay,
real quick, just to start the ball rolling. Yes or no? Have you foreshadowed in any of your books?
Oh yeah.
What's your
I think there's
favorite
foreshadowing.
point? Go ahead.
Oh,
roll with it.
There's a moment. I don't know if I want to spoil it, but my mind is on like setups and payoffs, which I think counts as foreshadowing. It's just like really subtle. You know, you can't like point to it and know that it's foreshadowing.
Right.
But it's drawing upon an ability or something that a character has, or something that's just anything that's been established in the story, which contributes in a new, surprising, and shocking way later. And it starts in the first chapter in Winslow, something that he has after we've established Winslow and what he's like, and John has gotten to know him. And there's this whistle that he blows, and there's a bit of foreshadowing in that chapter alone when he blows the whistle, and he's just, John at the beginning of the chapter, he thinks he's a kook. He's like, he thinks he's going out to have a smoke break, and he pulls a whistle out and just blows it at the sea. And then he comes in later, but then we see what that whistle actually does.
Oh, is it like a bosun's whistle?
It's a bosun pipe, yeah. That's right.
Look at you saying bosun pipe.
Yeah, bosun pipe. Yeah, that's what I know it. It can be either. It could be called either. And I actually looked up the specific naval melodies for what certain things mean. Right. And Travis, you've heard the first chapter. So the tune that he plays that's described in chapter 1 is for mess hall, is for dinner. So that's all I'll say. So I don't.
Now, that's
so I don't
book
spoil
1
it.
or book 2?
That's book 1.
Okay.
That's in the first chapter, book 1, and he plays a different tune later on. But I don't want to spoil that either, because it's really, really cool. I mean, I know what happens, and it blows my mind every time I read it myself. But
one of my favorite things about foreshadowing as a reader is not even realizing it was done till the second time I read the book.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's what kind of setups and payoffs are.
Right.
In my mind.
I mean, if there's a... 1 second, Aaron, I'll pass it right over. There's a unconscious or subconscious payoff with foreshadowing, even if you don't realize, 150 pages ago, that was hinted at, and now it's paying off because it was subtle. Yeah. But that second time you go through that book, and you're like, oh, man, that's coming. I remember that.
And something that's so simple in the first read can give you chills when your eyes glide over it. You're like, oh, yeah, And it changes the experience of the second read.
It does. Aaron, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, if you look at like comedy and things like that, comedians have callbacks. They have callbacks to previous jokes to get to get that second hit, and it's all foreshadowing leading up to what the big payoffs are.
Right.
They tell a small joke at the very beginning to get a bigger payoff here, and then a bigger payoff, so on and so forth. They set up the roller coaster. You got to have a small hill to get the momentum to get you to the next big hill, and so on and so forth. But a great movie that had one of these great payoffs is Quigley Down Under. Spoilers, because the movie's 40 years old. Tom Selleck. You're right. I got to point this out.
I remember watching it in the theater.
Right. Because the movie's 40 years old. And movies were only a nickel back then.
I'm kidding. I couldn't afford a nickel.
Right. Tom Selleck plays Quigley. He goes down to Australia to be a hired gun. He's got a rifle. And one of the comments he makes is that he doesn't have much use for handguns, not much use for revolvers and things like that. This is an Old West, it's a Wild West movie. The payoff is at the very end when they hand him a pistol and he's got to fight a couple guys off. And he basically shoots 3 guys in the chest in a fraction of a second. And he goes, no, I said I never had a use for them, not that I didn't know how to use them.
Right. There we go. And Jinter just said that. And I'm going to read Friedemann Spring's comment here. Realizing new profound things about a book every read is often the mark of a classic. It is a beautiful thing. And foreshadowing is definitely one tool to do that, to bring new things, layers and depth, and also perception. Well, I guess to put it super bluntly, perception as you age. If you can write a book that layers things, so when a teenager reads it, it gets it from the teenager's or the younger character's point of view, but when you're 40 and read it, you have a totally different point of view. And that's a beautiful thing. Aaron, that, and then I've got a couple other things I took notes on I'd like to comment on. Go ahead.
Okay. No, and I was on Reddit earlier this week, and somebody had made the comment about the sweet life of Zach and Cody, I think it is.
Okay.
Old Nick show. Kids living in a hotel room and things like that. When he was young, he's like, oh, wow, it's great to be these kids. And then as he aged, he's like, holy shit, their dad who's trying to run this hotel, and he's got these kids that are just causing a constant mess. And you start to go from wanting to be like the kids to wanting to be like the babysitter to wanting to be like the dad who's just dealing with all this part of the phrase shitstorm that the kids and the babysitter are perpetuating in this hotel that you're just trying to make a living at.
Your crackles censored your bad word.
Okay, good. Perfect then.
So a couple other things.
I said storm, sir.
Something a lot of people don't realize about comedians, because comedians, there's a reason they make great actors. And that is because their little 10-minute spot or their 1-hour show, that has been written and rewritten and honed and tweaked and all these things constantly to make it as tight as possible, and then tweaked per region and audience. So if you have an older audience or younger audience, if you're in Texas versus New Hampshire versus California, you hit different beats, you hit different jokes, or you tell them in a different way, so it twists it differently for that region. Even Republican versus Democrat, if you know that. As a comedian, you're aware. But that writing setup that Aaron mentioned a few minutes ago, where it's that roller coaster, something people don't realize about comedians is whether they buy their jokes or write them themselves, they're incredible structurally. To be a successful comedian or stage magician, you have to have your banter so it feels so fluid and natural and improvised, but none of it is. If somebody comes sees your next show, it is 93% the same exact content in the same order with the same inflection as the previous show. That's actually.
I'm going to grab something real quick from the background.
Go ahead. And then I'd like to talk about foreshadowing in my books also. But what were you going to say, Aaron?
You had hit on some of the regional stuff and like that. Cheech and Chong.
Hold on. We got money in the air. Andrew, thank you for showing us your bits. Appreciate that. Here's a little love.
Cheech and Chong actually talked about this when they were talking about developing their act and things like that. They talk about making the perfect hamburger, where we start off in Los Angeles and we got this one hamburger which is great for this audience, and they figured out, okay, we got to trim this out if it's going to work in Minneapolis, and then we can add this, and then we do this, and it's a perfect hamburger for a nationwide audience. And they talk about that, whereas you kind of lead into it with a banter piece. Penn and Teller talk about it, and they patterned their patter off of a guy who sold waterless skillets. They went in, space available, in these carnivals where the guy was selling these skillets. And it was just one of those, okay, hey, do this. But their patter is based off of that. They developed this perfect patter based on what they wanted their goal to be. Comedians do this. They figure it all out. In the modern era, we got Chris Rock. Chris Rock friggin' showcases everything. And he does it on the road, nonstop, before he goes before a studio audience or anything like that. And he's doing it constantly. And he's probably in the 5,000 hours to 1 hour of stage time range. Whereas some of the other comedians are, okay, I do it at my local set, build it up, I do a year, and I produce a comedy special. And it changes the dynamic, and you can see how refined everything is. Travis?
Q just asked a great question. When it comes to foreshadowing, do you ever find yourself making a moment and retracking just to put it in a great foreshadow moment in an earlier chapter? What is that? Who got a vibrator?
That was actually my dryer going off, saying that it was done. But it was from across the room, so you can imagine how loud it is here.
Okay, so answering Q's question, who wants to start?
Yes. Not to go back in time to fix a continuity error or a continuity piece, but to adjust it to make the foreshadowing more obvious. There's a scene where my protagonist actually has to use the firearm that he's been carrying since the beginning, but a couple of my beta readers forgot that he was carrying it. So I had to go back in and kind of hit that point so that it made sense as to why he was there. Our editors have a tendency to say, okay, why is this here? Why is this here? Get rid of this. It's not important. And we've talked to this with Tara as to, okay, you got this, and in regards to other people's books, and the person goes, no, this is important in book 2 or book 3.
Hold on, you're skipping, so I'm just making you pause. Go on.
Sometimes foreshadowing is not just in the current work, but in future works that you've got to make sure that those seeds are there, those plot points exist for you to exploit later on. Then you may not, or they give you avenues to explore later on in case you run into roadblocks that don't work.
What about you,
or to
Mike?
just change things up.
What about you, Mike?
Well, what's interesting is most of the time, I don't even know that it's significant until later on, and I'm just kind of like pleasantly surprised. With the most recent Winslow book, I probably did it the most consciously, and I was aware of them as I was doing them, and I had a conversation with one of my beta readers where there were like kind of two major reveals in this one chapter. So it was one had this big emotional strike, and then it kind of eclipsed the other one. So he didn't notice even though it was shown. And I said read this section again and read this section again. And then I got to watch his reaction live, which was pretty cool. He's like, wait, does this mean? I'm like, yeah. And he's like, whoa, and his mind was blown. And I was like, okay, so the breadcrumbs are there, but I need to make the breadcrumbs bigger. So that's probably the closest, you know.
A couple of things referring to that, and then I'd like to once again go back to foreshadowing I've done in my books from like 20 minutes ago. From what you're saying, there is subtle foreshadowing and obvious foreshadowing. I myself tend to lean towards the side of subtle. I would rather somebody miss it and catch it in a second reading most of the time, but not all the time.
Yeah, it depends on the reveal.
Right. And also, I feel like subtle foreshadowing, if it's bringing it out in later books, is better.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if you were just writing a standalone book, make it a little more obvious. Make them hit it that first time. Because people, in my experience, are more likely to reread a series than a single book.
Yeah.
Now,
yeah.
here's
I
something
agree.
else. Let me tell you this. Character arcs are often foreshadowing through the whole book.
Oh yeah, the classic plot points, the hero's journey, and so on and so
Right.
forth.
When you're like, this is my protagonist's problem. This is the problem he's harping on. You expose this in Act 1. You fill it up in Act 2. And you resolve it in Act 3. As if you're beating that drum as you go along, people are going to know this is something your protagonist is dealing with. They're trying to overcome. And you want to give that payoff. That's almost less foreshadowing and more... There's another word. Basically pointing at it, going, we're aiming over there. We're going to hit that point.
Trajectory.
Viscous.
Viscous.
That's it. It's just viscous. It's
like butter on that.
so in a lot of my books, I foreshadow, and again, depending if it's subtle or obvious. The one I foreshadow most in is Downfall Book 1, Harbinger. Because I want that to be a longer series, a heavier series, and definitely interwoven and connected. Whereas, for example, Portals, I am writing more... I want the books to feel standalone, even though they are interconnected. And yes, Aaron?
All right, Tinger brought up the concept of Chekhov's gun, which I alluded to a little bit earlier, versus foreshadowing. And the idea of a Chekhov's gun is that every element of a story must be necessary to the story, whether self-contained or within the greater series itself.
And by the way, quick advice for writers, that is a great idea, and it is super helpful, and movie makers will almost nail you to a cross if you don't do it, because they only have so much time. So keep that in mind.
Yeah. And
they'll flip it on its rear and call it a plot hole. What's going on here? Why is this here? Why does it need to be here? Let's cut it out.
Right.
Really, and the follow-on here is Jack Sparrow and Pirates of the Caribbean had this pistol that he wouldn't use until he could shoot Barbossa. Excuse me. Which made sense. That was a major plot point. That was the MacGuffin of that story, or one of them. There are... I like little tiny irrelevant details, but I come from the Chris Claremont school of plot seeds, to where we're building this universe.
There's a difference between an irrelevant detail and world building or character building. And those details become relevant if they build that world or flesh out that character more.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're tossing out seeds just to toss out seeds.
Right.
It's, okay, do I want to explore this point? When? Right now, this is the first really big project. I started with the Ships of Valor series, the Persona non grata, and my real goal was to make 4 books, one for each of the 4 ships that I allude to in this. And then I realized that one of the ships is going to be better suited towards Icarus Black. And that series, so the book spirals out of control. But I've got all these little seeds out here. Some of them make more sense in this series than they do in the main storyline. And I fall into the trap that George Lucas did, to where we got Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark, which takes place in, nominally 1939, 1941. And then we go back to Temple of Doom, which takes place 2-3 years prior to that.
Right.
So you got these seeds that happen, and you go, oh, I can play with this, and then I can jump forward and I can play with it here. or things are taking place. So Chekhov's gun is a great universal principle. Know the rules, break the rules. Kind of as I've said on previous podcasts, where you can't break the rules if you don't know them, and if you don't know the rules, you can't break them in the new and interesting ways. Go ahead, Travis.
Michael had his hand up. Michael, you got to hold it up longer for him to see it.
Yeah, no problem. I'll do that. So Chekhov's gun, I think Chekhov's gun is a great place to use world building, and world building is a great place to use massively in advance foreshadowing. So within the world building of like World of the Orb, I have details that won't become relevant until like book 5. And there are things that are just in the background that just shows this living, working environment, which makes the image more specific. And the more specific the image, the more universal the message and the experience. So the characters look at that and they see it and they see, this living world. And so it works in the world building sense. But later on, it's going to be this. It's foreshadowing something that no one's going to expect. And then, what's that?
And this goes back to kind of the thing of, if we're going to foreshadow, what's our payoff?
Yeah.
And the other thing is, to have a payoff, we have to have an emotional friggin' strike or an emotional investment. We got to build up to it to make it worthwhile and get something there. So, oh yeah, it's great to put this here and it. Oh wow, that's a cool little trick. Or, oh, with Winslow, all right? He likes his cryptids. We build up there, and then when things happen to the cryptids that he's searching for, because he's not hunting them, he's searching for them.
That's
when
right.
something happens to them, we get the emotional payoff of his anger.
Right. Yeah.
Which does not work if you don't foreshadow a little bit this throughout the story, if you don't seed it out previously.
Yeah, for sure. That was an interesting thing when I was writing Winslow, just figuring out, because he's a pretty easygoing guy until something like that happens. So you get to know him, and you get to know the other characters as well, and seeing what makes each of those characters explode in a certain way in the finale is very interesting. So it was cool for me, like seeing what made Winslow lose his cool in the finale and what made Scalpy lose his cool in the finale.
Okay, I've got a quick thing, and then I want to refer to something here in the chat. Besides what we've already mentioned, do you guys feel there are very specific rules for foreshadowing, and what would you say they are? And then, after you guys give a quick description of what you think the rules for foreshadowing are, when do you break those rules?
Ooh.
Mike, you want to start on this one? Or do you need a moment?
I think the rules for foreshadowing is to introduce it in a way that is not unnatural, introduce it in a way that naturally fits, and have it be a part of the story. Have it don't just be like, this is going to become important later on, unless it's a comedy, because then it works great in a comedy. Like in I just rewatched Deadpool 2 recently, and they were foreshadowing the Juggernaut, and then Deadpool looks at the camera and says he's right next to a steaming pile of foreshadowing, and it's pretty funny. It's like, okay, so this is going to come in later. And then have it be organic, and then for your payoff, it's either going to be unless you want it to be. I think you would break the rules when it is when you're trying to subvert or redirect expectations, but make sure it's noticed. So you may have to put in multiple references, multiple organic references.
Okay.
Aaron, do you have a thought? And then pass it to me when you're done.
I do. Mystery novels kind of do this really, really well.
Right.
With the concept of red herrings and things like that. They lay down your clues, which are all parts of the foreshadowing and things like that. Because you want to get your reader's mind going in one direction. It doesn't matter what the direction is. You're just trying to get them to go along a path. We're all humans. We all think the same. We're all going to get to the same point.
Penn and Teller's
Eventually.
misdirection in a mystery case.
Oh, well, and that's where the red herrings come in. So what my initial thought was baseball. You've got ball, strike, ball, strike. So you got 4 chances at a ball and 3 chances at a strike before friggin' you're running off.
And 2.5 at a foul.
Right. But we want to lead them down that path, but we want to make sure that they don't think that, oh, I know where this is going. And the big thing on, like, and we get into tropes and things like that, is do it in a new and interesting way. So we're going, oh, we're going to go this route. Oh, cool. Oh, nope, we're not going that route. Oh, no, we are going that route. Oh, this is how we're going to do it. Cool. So you give the reader a couple chances. You give the back and forth to where they're engaging their brain, because you want it to be a little bit of a challenge depending on what you're doing, to where, oh, they don't know where the story's coming from necessarily. Because if the second they know how the story's going to end, they're done with the story.
True, at least emotionally. My turn, or you're good? Okay. So what I'll say about foreshadowing, besides the rules we've already gone over, it's kind of building on exactly what Michael already said. It's general suggestions for foreshadowing with me is don't be fucking poetic and using prose when foreshadowing. That is a horrible way to foreshadow. A foreshadow, it's a clue, it's a hint. It's not a hold on while I plant a rose bush around this very important thing with a neon arrow. Don't do that. And it's just wasteful, as Michael was saying. Now, the exception where you break the rule is writing medieval fantasy. There's nothing like a good prophecy.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
Where you have a poem or a song or a cryptic letter that's found referring to. But if you're a smart writer, don't make it obvious. Don't make it set in stone. Give breathing room on that. Give room to move around, because you'll find as you go along, you need to be able to adjust that prophecy to where your story goes, as opposed to adjusting your story to the prophecy.
Well, the translation of a translation issue, where you can play with things like that, or double meaning issue. A great army will fall. Things like that. They're great to set the stage.
Yeah. Great opportunity for redirection. If your characters interpret it as one way, and then it twist on them at the end.
Right, which that's something that Tejintra was saying. Sherlock Holmes and Robert Downey Jr., you go through the whole movie with this build-up to magic, and then reveal it was a long con. And once you know all the steps, you can see it, but all the way up to that point, it's hidden. Tejintra adds about the prophecy thing. If it's translated more than twice, please stop trying to make it rhyme. Yeah. Now, flipping back to Q's question, Q asks, do you run into a moment where an editor wants to remove a moment or a part of your work that has irked you in any way? And if so, how often does that happen? I'll start with this one, since you guys got to start all the others. No. Because I have an editor that works with me. Usually to get that sort of feedback, I have to push my editor into, what about this? What about this? Where I'm poking at certain parts of my story that I'm not sure of how it's working out. But yeah, if you have an editor that's generally working with you, but then again, apparently I write a clean copy, from what everybody tells me, is pretty tight on the rough draft, let alone once I do that first edit. What about you, gentlemen?
As Travis said, your editor is your strategic partner. They see where this is going, and they want to make a good product. And I'm going to harp on this as long as you're a subscriber to the thing. This is a business. We want to make good product because people want to buy good product. So now they see where things are going, and if they want to remove a moment, it's either because they see something of that strategy that doesn't align, and they're going to bring up, hey, what's going on here? Why is this like this? But I kind of follow the 2 must agree rule. Whereas, let's say I have Travis and Michael acting as my beta readers. They read through it, and they both give me their notes, and they say, but if both of them pop up and they hit the same thing, something's wrong there. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be both of them. Michael can come to me and go, I don't like this. I don't like your word choice here. And I go, holy shit, you're right. And I cut it. And I've done that before. I've used word choices because modern context was not the same as what I was trying to feel for the guy. So I changed a couple word choices. Sometimes prose is a little bit purple.
Hold on, you're blurbing again there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, go on.
I've had beta readers come back and say, hey, the prose is a little bit purple here. So I've got, oh, you're right, let's adjust. Whereas an editor is going to do all that for you. And like I said, they're a strategic partner. They want your product to be as good as possible because their name's tied to it too. And if it doesn't sell, you're not buying their service to make your next product better.
Michael, when you answer this, you might want to include your beta readers in this same thing. Do you want me to repeat the question for you?
No, I got it. Do they ever want you to remove anything that you don't want to remove?
Right.
And I don't think that's ever happened to me. I have had people, want clarification on certain things. But generally everything that's in there I feel is significant, and if I ever did run into it, I would probably not want to remove it anyway. I would either be like, how do I make this work? Because I generally feel like I if anything gets removed, it's early on where I'm not like fully surrendering to the flow of the story, and I want to put something in because I think it's cool, but I'm like I can save that for something later. Maybe this will organically show up later.
Yeah, and I want to comment on that to clarify. Now that Michael brings that up, I have had certain phrases that an editor or a beta reader has looked at and went, maybe you don't need that in there. And I'm like, but I like it, which is not a good reason to keep it in there. Mm-hmm. Aaron, what were you going to say?
Going back, because Michael brought up a great point, and a lot of times you're going to see us do this because he's like, oh shit, he brings up this great memory of why we did things. When I wrote Persona non grata, I had actually started him off in a spaceport weeks before. I actually cut probably 20% of the first book out because the roller coaster ride wasn't steep enough to begin with. So I just removed that chunk. And it was a smart move. The tempo wasn't flowing right. And it wasn't through anything editor-wise. It was, I got a couple of feedbacks and like, okay, I like this, I like this, I like this. But I did get a couple of secondary comments in regards to the tempo. Slow burn, things like this. And I was like, okay, wait a second. And then comments about, wow, this is where the story really picks up. And I was like, why don't I start the story here then? And I pulled it and I saved it. I didn't cut it. I just removed it from that portion of my story for the time being. Which it didn't irk me because once I'm into the editing phase, it's no longer my baby.
It's a different hat. It's a different outlook.
Yep.
Okay, gentlemen, let's look at wrapping this up for the evening and everything. Anybody have any final closing thoughts of anything they didn't get to say at this point in time? Excellent.
I have a Bosun pipe. If you want to see it real quick.
You want to play a quick
little prop for the table? No, I can't do it yet. But here it is.
Very good.
Kind of neat. So I might put this on my book signing table. I'm not sure.
Oh, we got to get you a lanyard, sir.
It's got a little chain on it, so this looks very much like Winslow's.
Let me really recommend go with the cloth lanyard over a little chain. That chain is going to pop, break. Yeah, and also if you're in the sea air, chains of any sort never really do great. It's either stolen or tarnishes.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Gold will be stolen, silver and any other sort of metal like that will tarnish.
Yeah, this looks expensive, but it's not.
Brass tarnishes too. You'll be polishing your whistle, if you know what I mean.
I do want to say one of my favorite bits of foreshadowing, which I'm just remembering, was in Chicken Boy 4, and there was a moment where one of our main characters, Matt, he wins this he wins a bear at a crane game for a girl that he has a crush on, and then later on there's a moment where the specific skill of operating a real crane comes into play. And he's like, oh hey, I'm a master at the crane game, and then he runs up, and it's a hilarious moment. He runs up and he's like, and they're like, there's no way they're gonna let you use that thing. He's like, hey, can we use that thing? And the guy's like, sure, kid, knock yourself out. He throws him the keys. He catches them. They're like, oh, that was lucky and probably illegal. And then it gets in. They're like, there's no way a real crane is anything like the game at the arcade, Matt. They get inside. There's lights and everything. It says test your luck. And they're like, oh well, I'll be darned. He's like, quick, someone toss me a quarter. And it says Deus Ex Machina Corp on the crane, and this is where it gets like really cerebral. So this is the extra layer for like the parents if they're reading it with their kid. Deus Ex Machina, because the crane just like appears there, but it was set up with the skill, so that's not necessarily Deus Ex Machina. But the extra cerebral layer is that the term Deus Ex Machina means, I think, God from the machine, and it was back when plays would lower some type of god or goddess via crane onto the stage to help the mortals solve their task. And in the book, they lower one of their friends on the crane to solve the task. And I won't spoil how they do it because it's really funny. But yeah, that's probably my favorite recent foreshadowing that I did.
Nice. Okay. Well, this whole show has been to foreshadow what the show is, what direction we're going in. So we're going to wrap this up now. Once again, I want to remind folks that, hold on, let me see. I think I've got it right here. Yep, there we go. There's the email if you guys want to drop any thoughts. rightnightshow@gmail.com. For those of you listening to this on a podcast, feel free to drop your thoughts about the topic. We may read them on air, as well as any birthdays or messages that you want to send to somebody that you know listens to the show, or will listen to it because you sent a message that's going to be saying that. Next week's topic, we're going to be talking about contrast. Hold on. Put it on the reading glasses because I wrote it down. Contrasting environments. So like utopian versus dystopian, law versus chaos, light versus dark, protagonist versus whatever's coming up.
Antagonist.
I also want to remind everybody that we have our other shows. On Sunday night we have the D&D show. On Monday night we have Talk of the Tavern. And I wanted to thank everybody who threw bits tonight. That would be Andrea and people who subscribed, like Freedom in Spring, to Jinter who subscribed, Tracy who threw bits and subscribed, and everybody else who came in and hung out with us. And there's one right there. It's
at the buzzer.
Get the booty song going. I guess you guys can hear it. Thank you for your bits, Michael. Here's to you, man. And I do want to thank everybody who is supporting me on my Patreon, which I don't have that information in front of me now because this was very much an off-the-cuff show for tonight. And Aaron,
it's on his Twitch page, freaking top of the page.
There we go. Yeah, you can check that out and let us know there. I think that's pretty much it. Anybody got any closing thoughts before I hit the outro music?
Follow me on Instagram.
It's
on
follow him on
my
website.
website.
Follow Michael on Instagram.
I need more friends.
And you can follow Aaron on Instagram too, but he don't check his shit, so.
This is a complete.
I can lie to you and say I do.
Okay, outro music coming. Have a great night, guys. To Jinter saying, and I 100% need to write a story where they're actually a utopia, and it sucks because the actual utopia is kind of monstrous. That's called dystopia. Dystopia are usually borderline utopia. Haha.
Join author Travis I. Sivart and the other writers, content creators, and all-around amazing people for our discussion here on Writing. Join us again soon, and until you do, make sure you create with a passion, enjoy the journey, and remember, every night can be right now.
Good night, everybody. We'll catch you again
Bye,
next
y'all.
time. There we go. Tomorrow night, 8 o'clock.
This holiday season, we all wish for hope and healing. Children and families who spend their holidays at the hospital deserve a reason to believe in first steps, in giggles, high fives, and hugs. For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided world-class care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to help patients and healthcare heroes this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday. That's childrensnational.org/holiday.
At Capella University, education is as smart as the world around us. With the FlexPath format, you can take classes at your own pace, set your own deadlines, and even leverage your previous experience to move faster. Now that's smart. Learn more at capella.edu.
For 150 years, Children's National Hospital has provided exceptional care and groundbreaking research. Please donate today to give children and healthcare heroes a reason to believe this holiday season. Visit childrensnational.org/holiday.